I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm doing and what I'm really doing. And it's so little. It's so slightly, man. It's like Coach Greg sits there, it's like on TRT, and it's literally.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplace.com. Today we're going to be reacting to Joesthetics. He came out with his, I don't know, coming out video or something. It's not like actually coming out, but you know what I mean, like talking about gear for the first time. So he's been pretty withdrawn about talking about PEDs. He usually does not, like shies away from the subject, and, expectedly a lot of guys in this industry just don't want to talk about it, even though it's, a huge part of this industry, like undoubtedly, but some people just don't feel comfortable for it for, numerous reasons. It differs for each person, and frankly, I have not even watched the video because I wanted to get my raw reaction to it instead of go into it, already knowing what he's gonna say. So I don't know what he's gonna say about it or anything about why he's kind of like skirted around it in the past or anything like that. But if you don't know Joesthetics, his name is actually Joe Lindner. Sorry. It's a hard one to say for some reason. Lindner, Joe Lindner. And he has, he's the guy who does the, one of the guys who has the alien gains, that, what is it, like the CAV3 gene mutation or whatever that causes an electrolyte imbalance and causes you to get like massive spasms all the time, and just has your muscle fibers like twanging like a fucking, I don't know, guitar strings pretty much. I think he went viral back in the day for, one of those alien gains videos. Actually, he like did he'd like cramp his chest together, or just like contract it and then hyperextend it, and he would, as a result of the electrolyte imbalance, he would have the whole like accordion thing going where it'd look like just like a massive fucking concerto shit going on up here. And he can do that to pretty much all of his muscles, which is here's an example here actually on his page. This is one of the original ones that went viral, I think. So aside from the gene mutation that he is, I guess, most prominently known for, that's just what kind of like propelled him into the public eye, I guess, with some of the viral videos. But he has a nuts physique. So, don't take anything away from him on that, or the fact that he's on PEDs probably, which he'll probably confirm shortly. There is, no doubt that this guy has a nuts physique, and most notably the adherence to a ridiculously deprived diet model. I can nearly guarantee this guy suffers like hard to maintain this body fat percentage, because from what I have seen, he pretty much maintains, single digit body fat percentage year round. And it's like, it's not like a slightly below like 10%. Like he's striking distance of stage ready like all the fucking time. So this guy, suffers probably a lot to maintain this crazy body composition, and regardless if you're on PEDs or not, you have to give this guy props off the bat, because nobody looks like this who's on PEDs anyways. No one can maintain this body fat percentage year round and not go fucking insane. It's just impossible for the average person with the average willpower. So kudos to him already on that before we get into this, because I know so many people are going to be like, oh, you're admitting you took this and that and that's why you're shredded. And it's like, no dude, every guy who's on gear is pretty much, the majority of them look like shit, and the ones that don't look like shit, no one walks around this lean year round, I promise you that. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the video.
Hola amigos, what's poppin', Bruski? It's me, Joe. Hey, real quick, this is the video you've all been waiting for. Yeah.
This guy's so he's very charismatic.
Man, finally I come up with the truth, because I'm so sick and tired of people accusing me of this and that, and I'm like, brother, listen, let me tell you the truth. Because why should I hold back, man? I have no problem with telling everything like it is, because everyone's like, you fake, you don't tell the truth, BSing everyone, just selling bullshit. No, man, I'm probably the most honest person in the world, and I would really like to talk about everything, but it's just not possible, because let's say in some countries it's illegal, like I once mentioned before. But listen, this is how I got introduced to PEDs, aka performance enhancing drugs, or steroids or anabolics or whatever you want to name them or call them. So the story is quite cool. So first up, I started training, right, when I was like, 17 or something. It's like 10 years ago. And then I was lifting, and I was this hardcore natty boy, and I was working in a club as a bouncer, as a security, Can you imagine me, 18 years old, working in a club as a bouncer? Anyway, so these guys, the other security guys, they were quite built, they were quite much older than me. And then one time, the other guy came and he looked at this other security and he's like, yo bro, are you juicing? Man, you look quite swole, man. How the hell is this possible that you made so quick gains? Like, from 1 week to another, he looked completely different, literally. And then he's like, oh yeah, man, I'm taking something. And then, can you imagine me, young boy, little boy standing next to them, like, huh? What are they talking about, bro? What? And then I was like, oh, I'm curious, I want to see what is this stuff all about. And so these guys, they told me like, oh man, oh, you train as well? I mean, yeah, you could take something.
It's funny because I actually used to be a bouncer too, and like you could tell when one of the guys hopped on a cycle because all of a sudden he would just blow up. Like you saw him like a week ago, the Friday before, and then all of a sudden he has like 10 pounds of intramuscular nitrogen and water retention from like some fucking D-Bull and some Deca he jumped on, and with some Test obviously probably, and everyone's just like, oh, what's up, dude? And because we all know what the fuck's going on. And same for me, like I would just show up like on my fresh cycle of whatever, and people would be like, bro. But we're open about it. That's the thing. I don't know how, it sounds like he was sort of getting into the world of this stuff here. I'm more so referring to when I was like 20, 22, 23 that I had that. And I was already, well experienced with it. My introductory story is a bit less exciting. I don't know. Anyways, let's keep going.
I'm like, no way, bro. I could take something. Hey, what should I take? Okay, then they're like, oh, yeah, you could take Dianabol. That would be good for your first time ever trying something. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
That's such a classic. The D-Bull only cycle. I've talked about this before, the D-Bull only cycle gangster, how this is like, the first go-to that like everyone in high school runs. Just by the advice of somebody's friends, because it's like the thing that makes the most visual cosmetic difference very quickly, even though so much of it is temporary weight. It's like very popular among just fucking everyone, to be honest. In high school, it's like the go-to, aside from like the over-the-counter pro hormones at the time that were actually legal back then. But this is funny because this is pretty much right in line with like how everyone like sauced up in my high school from where I can tell this seems to be going.
People? That's tablets, right? Okay, tablets. And they said, yeah, we can get you some tabs. And I was like, that's much better, you don't want to inject stuff and you just want to take some tablets. Massive gains. So the other guy, then I think 2 weeks later or so, paid $100. He brought me a dose pill box of Dianabol tablets. And stupid as I was and young as I was like, oh, how much should I take? And ask these guys for advice. Okay, anyways. And then they're like, yeah, you just take 2 tablets a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. So I did this and didn't feel anything. Like literally, this must have been fake. But, so
it was probably fake because with D-Bull, it's like, even if you fucking suck at dieting and training, most people see gains because there's a lot of temporary weight that comes along with it. So it's like one of the most obvious hormones to know when somebody's on it. You'd literally, I remember I'd show up to like chemistry class and there'd be one of the guys would just all of a sudden be weighing like fucking 15 pounds more 2 weeks later, and his bench would be up like fucking 25 pounds already. And it was like, regardless of, like, I'm not saying he didn't do anything to achieve that, but it was like, it's one of the most drastic compounds in the first few weeks that you just have like a surge of progress. But a lot of it is temporary, but it's very blatantly obvious when somebody's using D-Bull versus some other compound.
I was going back to the guy and I was like, bruh, this is shit, man. This is not good stuff. This is not working for me. I need better. So they're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know exactly what you need to do. So me and my other security guy, homie, we driven to this other security's home, and then he's like, okay, man, this is the serious stuff. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And he's like, yeah, you're gonna take testosterone. And I'm like, oh, testosterone. That sounds dangerous, bro. Anyway, so as I was young and stupid, I didn't know anything, I was just listen what they say. And as you get caught up in the moment, you're like, oh yeah. Oh, okay, yes, okay, good, let's do. Anyways, so then he gives a bottle of Test, and he gives a bottle of Tren. Yes, brother, Tren. Can you imagine, man? I'm spinning around. It's just that you can see.
Jesus fuck, dude. Tren. That's insane. Man, like obviously he knows how ridiculous that is, like by his reaction. But I mean, fuck, like even like idiots I know would typically not give that to people on their first cycle. But that was like, like, you can't really blame people of that age when they just, they think they know what they know, you know what I mean? So I'm sure there's been worse. Like, I guess it depends on what the dosage is, but I mean, we'll find out, dude. This doesn't reflect poorly on him, by the way. The guy was like a kid at the time, and you know, you're gonna do what people who you deem as experts tell you to do, and that's just the way it goes, you know? Like, even when I'm seen as like one of the authorities on YouTube of safer practice, and back, you know, when I was first starting, I used to like listen to other fucking idiots too myself, so I can totally relate to the story, just not to the extent that he's saying, like fucking Trent on the first cycle. Crazy.
That I'm spitting so much because of the night. Anyways, okay, listen. So he gave me the bottle of Test and a bottle of Tren. So he gave me Test inantate. And then he gave me a bottle of Tren acetate. First of all, medical disclaimer, I don't want to recommend anything. No, this is not good. Don't try this at home. Steroids are bad. Please don't do drugs. They will, okay, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical, whatever. I don't want to recommend anything. I'm just talking about a story that I was hearing. Maybe I was just hearing it. Now I would say it was my personal experience. Who knows, right? Don't try this at home, okay? Please, because this is ridiculously stupid. And I don't even want to admit that I did this, but I did. And I have no problem with telling the people the truth, bro. I can just tell it like it is. I don't want to hold back anymore. Anyways, okay? Test, Tren. And this is Test inantate, this is Tren acetate. So this is a quick Easter. That means like you have to inject it more often, because otherwise you will go up and down. So anyways, then Test E is like 5 days, blah, blah. Anyways, don't go too deep in this topic. So he says, the Test E you take every second day, and also the Tren A you take every second day. So you start with this one, 0.5 cc, 0.5 cc every second day, finish, that's good.
0.5 cc's every other day. So he's taking like 125 milligrams of Test E every other day. So he's taking, you know, either 500 one week, 375 the other week, rounding out to the middle. And then Tren Ace, he's doing like 200 milligrams per week, other week 150, averaging out in the middle. That's a fucking lot for a first cycle. Obviously, like the fact that Tren is included whatsoever is obviously, you know, crazy. But even the test dosage itself, you know, I've talked about in the past how one of my, you know, big regrets was my first blast of test being 500 milligrams, and that was way more, not way more, but it was more than was necessary. That's the common, you know, newbie cycle you always hear: 500 milligrams per week, 250 Monday, 250 Thursday. And it's just excessive for a first cycle, in my opinion. I don't think anyone needs to start with that much, frankly. But I guess we'll see what he says too.
So I was like, okay, let's do this. But can you imagine, the Tren A is like instant, like within 48 hours, it has some effect because it's a fast-acting ester or ester. Or
can you imagine your first shot ever getting a massive bout of Tren cough? It'd be like the worst turn-off ever of gear. You just like, you've never used anything. You're like some kid who's just like, just mustered up the balls to do your first shot, and you pin, and then you get a giant like hacking cough that you think you're gonna die from. I can't even imagine getting a Tren cough on your first shot, but I guess we'll see what happens in his experience.
How's it called? And the test is like, when you first start up taking test, and it takes like 4 to 6 weeks until your test level slowly rises up, and then your body adapts, and the Test inantate is just not gonna do it in the next 2 or 3 days, but the Tren A is gonna do it for sure, brother. Can you imagine? So I mean, this is the most stupid thing in my life I did probably. Okay, so I went there, and I couldn't even do this myself. Like, I mean, I'm scared of needles, and like, I should inject something, bro. Are you ridiculous or what? I can't do this, man. Sorry, no.
There's a huge misconception that Test E is not like in your system until week 5. That's just reaching stable blood serum concentration, steady state. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're going to get a giant surge of hormones when you pin 500 milligrams in a week. You simply haven't reached steady state yet at that point. But you're going to get a giant fucking hit of Test, and it's going to start working. So this is a common misconception where people think that, he's not really saying that. I'm just saying that don't expect that long esters are not working for 5 weeks, because that's a huge misconception among guys.
I'm out. So he's like, no. Anyways, the truth is, he just tried to sell me the stuff that he didn't need, bro. Can you imagine? So he was having the shit laying around. He wanted to get rid of it, and then he sold it to me. This is the story.
That unfortunately happens a lot. Like, I'll get guys ask me, what do you think about this cycle? And then I'll look at it, I'm like, and I'll look at the guy and I'll be like, dude, like, is this your first blast? Or like, is this your first time using X compound? Or is it this time, like, where's your level of experience at? And then it'll be like some newbie or some guy who has like, he's way too small to even justify what he's fucking proposing. And then it'll turn out that he got it from some guy who's like overcharging him and trying to like sell him way more shit than he needs. And it's just like, this is such a common thing, you know, like guys who just like don't give a fuck and want to make their $20 margin on a fucking bottle or something. It's just ridiculous.
And he didn't, I mean, yeah, can you imagine? He doesn't even mind that I might suffer some serious problem, getting some serious problem rather. So, 0.5 cc, 0.5 cc. After like 3 days, I feel like, holy moly, broski, my nipples are hurting like crazy, you know, my tits. What is this shit, man? And then I do some research and I found out like, oh yeah, it's like estrogen can rise up, right, because of test. I didn't even realize that this is because of the trend. Anyways, back in the days, then I was like, oh, okay, shit, man, I need some estrogen blockers, or I need some kind of what is it called, like some, anyway.
What actually happens is trenbolone also interacts with the progesterone receptor, and through its interaction with it, it can actually upregulate aromatase expression. And this is one of the reasons it's a bit of a different action in which it interacts than something like nandrolone, although they're both 19 nors. Nandrolone, you know, it's very the decadic side effect that most people are aware of. It's largely driven, or partially driven, I should say, through its interaction with the progesterone receptor, its upregulation of aromatase, which then exacerbates the aromatization of testosterone into estrogen, as well as its own inherent aromatization into estrone. With tren, it has a similar action through its interaction with progesterone receptor being a 19 nor derived compound. And this is what can lead to problems when people use it in conjunction with testosterone and don't take into account this interaction with the progesterone receptor and its, you know, inherent ability to, you know, fuck with estrogen metabolism essentially, and creation as well, like the actual aromatization process. But anyways, just wanted to clarify that.
Then I went to my homie and I said, bro, I need something. It hurts so bad. And he gave me some tamoxifen tablets and I took these and it didn't help. And I was like, oh man, no. Like 3 times I injected that stuff. Like 1 week, can you imagine? Every second day. Okay, in like 1 week or 6, 8 days, you're done. And I was then done. And after like 3 days, I had this crazy negative side effects already going on. So I was like, holy broski, I need to stop. And back in the days, I was still like this whole hardcore nerdy guy who was like, I will never take anything. And everyone who takes everything is an asshole because they're cheating. And this is not good, and yeah, this is how you think, bro, because everyone who's taking something doesn't need to work hard, which isn't true, because they also have to work really hard. It might just enhances everything. Okay, so then I stopped like after a week, but it still didn't wear off. You know, the story is like, when I had problems with my nipples for like 8 months, like seriously, bro.
Man, can you imagine your first injectable cycle and this is like your experience? Like I'd be fucking turned off for life. Like that's crazy. Anyway, I'll let him continue.
And the next problem was I completely crashed my own hormones. Okay, so then I had a not too nice libido back in the days, and I was not feeling too good. I still looked decent. I was getting a bit more full bloated because I don't know why, maybe my estrogen went up. So a lot of really bad things happened, and then I was really like, no, I don't want to do this, man. This is not what I want to do. But first up, this is totally stupid, man. The guy recommended me taking test E, which is a slow estrogen, and the tren A together. Together, you'd never do this for the first place. You never start like this from the first place, bro. No. And even if you ever wanted to do something, why not just take some tests and then see how it goes, and then do your blood work, and then you can see this, and you need to do this properly. And I just want to make this video because I know, in fact, someone of you guys is out there in the gym showing you best made my pictures and it's like, this is how I need to look, but I said, can you help me? And then your mate goes like, I know exactly what you need. And then he shows you all these things that you should take because you want to look like me, right? And then the truth is, 6 months later, you're having a massive gyno, you look like shit, bloated, acne like crazy. Maybe you ruin your life because of this, you're taking a lot of stuff, and then you realize, hey, I still don't look like Joe. Maybe he's taking even more. No!
That's this guy is hilarious. That's actually like pretty much the sequence of events that happens, especially for guys with bad genetics. They'll take like a certain amount, not get the results they want, take more, not get the results they want. They still look at their like favorite Instagram star, and then they'll just like push the envelope. And then before you know it, you're on like grams of stuff and you look like fucking shit and you have tons of side effects. You're, you know, getting gyno, you're getting whatever, dick, you're getting, you know, significant amounts of, you know, acne, whatever, hair loss, all this stuff. And it's because you're really using like 10 times more than the guys you're trying to look like. Or you're using compounds that like you wouldn't have even needed just to try and match some unrealistic ideal that you may either never be able to achieve, or you're just putting your body in a toxic state that you would otherwise be far better doing a lower, slower approach, because building muscle does not happen overnight. And this guy's reaction's fucking funny.
No, No, bro, it's just not like that, okay? But I just want to warn and stop people from doing this. Don't listen to your homie because I'm telling you exactly what I do. Should I come up with this right now? Fuck, man, this is a really hard topic. I have a really hard time just to come up with this, you know, bro. If you hate on this, I don't mind, you know, because I just want to be real. I really want to be real. I want to be as real as possible and not like everyone else, like, oh, I'm nerdy, but you're not, and it's obvious. And I have no problem with admitting to the shit that I did when I was younger, because the problem was doing another weird shit. You know, I crashed my hormones level quite some times, and the truth is that it came back. I went off for 1 year straight, man, and I did another test, and my levels were so low that it was like, what should you do, Brazil? You know? So then I wanted to make sure everything is legit, because I'm in Germany, right? And stuff is illegal or not illegal, but needs a prescription. So, okay, I don't want to do this massive stuff like a lot of people do. I just wanted to make sure I feel good. You know what I mean? I had really hard time going on when you go off cycle. Or just the thing that I did, your estrogen bounces up. You know, you're getting a lot of mindfuck actually going on, which can make you depressed. And then also my own test level, they didn't really come back. I didn't do any PCT. The second time when I went off and I was at the doctor, oh shit, man. We are now at the first experience, and now I said at the second time I went off. In between that, there was another story, but this is another topic, another time.
This is a fucking great explanation. Like, I'm thoroughly entertained right now.
Just now I want to make this clear that I'm not natural. Yeah, now we went.
It's like, yeah, we figured, but I mean, like, good. That's good that you're clarifying in case people thought you claimed otherwise. Which obviously, I don't think he's never claimed natural, as far as I know. So, and I think it's like it's implied when you don't claim natural that you're enhanced, as far as I know. But you know, some people would indicate otherwise, I guess. But I mean, it's good that he's clarifying, just for the people who have no idea. But anyway, let's continue.
This fucking shock. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not nerdy, but I'm also not juicing like crazy. Can you imagine? The only thing, because people, they look at me and they say I'm so ripped and I need to take this, I need to take that, I need to take trend, I need to take mass, No, man. I'm literally using a bit of test. And everything that I'm using, I got a prescription for, believe it or not. I went to the doctor, I made sure that I can get everything that I need, everything that is required.
Hopefully this video is not going to turn into
I'm not cycling steroids. I'm not using SARMs. I am following a medical procedure. It's called TRT, under supervision of a doctor. All right, so it's a bit different than you might have expected, you know?
Hopefully it's not going to be like that. But, like, I think it sounds like he's not trying to come across as, like, obviously he's trying to make it very clear that his physique was not, it was not necessary to take tons of shit to get to it. So this is a bit of a different angle than the Marine video, but I guess we'll see where he goes with it.
Legitimately, that I don't get into trouble with the law, that I can travel around the world and take that stuff with me, that I have my prescriptions, that I get my blood works done, that I see all these things going on, and then you can do it, you know? And not stupidly do it, like this other story that I'm going to tell you about my second experience with PED.
I'm kind of baffled that he would have been able to get a prescription in Germany, like with low T. Like, it's very, very difficult to get a prescription even in Canada for, well, it's a bit easier now, but I mean, like, back when he was talking about, it was fucking hard to get a prescription. Like, there was no, these telemedicine clinics weren't around in the States, where it was like, you know, relatively easy to, you know, talk to a doctor over Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, and, you know, get a protocol designed for you. And in Canada, it's much more strict, and internationally, it's way more strict. Like, I know guys in Europe that, at best, they can get, like, prescribed one shot of Sustanon like every fucking 3 weeks or something. So I'm shocked that this many years ago he was able to procure a prescription in his, like, home country, because as far as I know, they're pretty fucking strict, dude. So I guess we'll see what he says here. Like, they're still strict as far as I know. They haven't even, like, I don't think they've really eased up a significant amount. Like, the States or Canada has started to ease up too, but I mean, as far as I know, a lot of the European countries are like, you would have to be, like, fucking dead to get a prescription as a early, like, young 20s, like 21-year-old or whatever he was when he went in, 20-year-old, whatever it is. You would literally need to walk in with, like, a double-digit fucking testosterone level to get a prescription, as far as I know. But let's see what he says.
Which was that the guy was recommending us shitloads to take, like shitloads to take, and we were stupid. We took it without asking. Can you imagine? And then a lot of other shit happened again. And I wanna share my experience, because I know there's a lot of people out there like you, bro. They're still doing all these kind of things, and I wanna warn you, and I wanna make sure that you are not going out and ruin your health, and you ruin your body, and you ruin your life, because you are just following some stupid advice of a guy in your gym or maybe some guy in the internet that you just found. I don't want to give you advice. I just want to talk about my experience and warn you. I'm telling you, don't do steroids if it's not necessary, needed. The problem is, people, they do all the time, they are abusing a lot of stuff. It's not only this, but can you imagine? It is just not publicly accepted. This is why bodybuilders never came up. I mean, if you are doing some other sport and you're having a fair advantage because you're cheating with someone, I don't know, because you're using a bigger gun or you're having a bigger cricket stick or whatever it is, then it is something like physically. And it's nothing that you're putting some crazy substances in your body that change the way you look. Actually, they mildly change the way you look, but then people, they compare me with these guys who are juicing up like crazy, and I don't want to do the competitions for a few reasons. I also will tell you about why I don't want to do the competitions, because I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do this, and these people who are competing at the highest level, don't get offended. Not a nice life, Every day having to do this, every day you can't even go this and there, you need to take your meds and this and insulin and blah, blah, blah. Stay away from me with all this. I don't judge. Do whatever you want. But just don't say I only look like this because I do all these kind of things. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm doing and what I'm really doing. And it's so little. It's so slightly, man. It's like Coach Greg sits there, it's like on TRT. And it's literally what I am. I'm on TRT, my friends. Holy fuck, man. I'm getting a high heart rate because this is a very emotional moment for me. Like I said, I didn't even think about coming up with this, but I'm just sick and tired of all these people hating you, like, you're not real, you're just lying, you want to sell. I don't want to sell you anything, and I'm not lying, and I don't want to be fake, I don't want to lie to you that I'm not taking anything.
Okay, so he's on TRT, is what he's saying, and he makes the comparison to Coach Greg. And the thing is like, a lot of people don't believe Greg could possibly be on 140 milligrams of test per week and maintain his physique, which is people who don't understand how strong 140 milligrams of exogenous testosterone actually is. Are you going to build Greg's physique from scratch on 140 milligrams per week? Probably not, but you can probably maintain it if you have the good genetics. You're probably not going to get it, but you can probably maintain it. In the case with Joe, could you have achieved his physique from baseline after peaking out natty? Let's just assume you actually reach your natural potential first, and you, like, reasonably, would he have been able to achieve this physique if he was just on TRT from the get-go? I guess it depends what his dose of TRT is and how generous it is, because some people's definition of TRT is 300 milligrams per week. Some people's is 100. So it kind of depends. It also depends on the ester. It depends how, a myriad of things. But I can almost guarantee in between him starting and being on TRT, I would highly, highly doubt he hasn't blasted at least a handful of times that yielded a significant amount of progress that would otherwise then be more sustainable thereafter with a, like high normal dose of TRT or something like that. That is like potentially super physiological in itself, because most people who are using TRT aren't actually doing legitimate like therapeutic replacement. They're doing like a borderline cycle, or they're actually on like their fucking free T's like 30 plus, and then they think that, oh, this is TRT, and it's like, no, dude, like, it's fucking not. Your SHBG is on the bottom end of normal. Your free T is like pushing fucking 40. Your total T is maybe like 1,500, and you might be able to, or 1,200 even, and you think, you can justify because it's the top end of the reference range, but your free T is like disproportionately high, which is the actual value that matters in terms of determining how much muscle tissue you build. But anyways, I'm not saying that's what he did. I would just highly doubt that he didn't have some blast phases in there that contributed to his overall progress. That's not to say he couldn't achieve a good physique with just TRT, or he couldn't maintain what he has with just TRT. I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on the dose, he could maintain his physique on TRT, just like Greg can, Greg would be the first to tell you that you're a fucking moron for not believing he's on the dose he says he's on. And I believe him too. And I believe that Joe is on TRT right now too, but I can nearly guarantee you it's not what got him from A to Z. It's simply what's keeping him at Z and not regressing back to A. Well, not actually A, but you know what I mean. So anyways, let's continue.
When I'm there and I'm slightly enhanced. Yes, slightly enhanced, bro, that's it. That's it. And nothing more. And then I'm people that don't even believe me. And this is the next problem that I have, because people, when you meet someone in the gym and you ask them, hey man, what you're taking? Most of the people, they will tell you this dosages, and it's really underdosed, you know what I mean? And the next thing was I always was kind of scared what kind of stuff and things to buy, because it's always black market, you never know about the quality, and then you're injecting some stuff in your body where you don't even know where it comes from. Not the smartest choice. I mean, I've seen things where some guy almost got his leg amputated because he had a bad shot. So this is a really dangerous topic, and once again, don't do this, please. This is not a video where I give any advice or something. I just talk about personal experience.
So as far as I know, Joe lives in an area where you have access around the clock to pharma grade hormones that you can walk into a pharmacy and just buy them and it's fine. It's all legal there. We're not talking about Germany. We're talking about where he lives currently. And as far as I know, he's been traveling to places with similar laws, and he's been at the current place he's at for a while. What is the likelihood that he hasn't done a couple blasts with some pharma grade primo or something like that on top of his TRT, or pushed his TRT higher? Probably fucking low, dude. That's what I would say. But that's not to take away from his hard work again. I just simply don't think that him getting to where he's at exactly at this point was just TRT from the start. You know, I guess it depends what his definition of TRT is though too, because like hypothetically, if he was on, you know, some of the dosages that some people are justifying, like maybe it might be possible, and then you could still be like, I'm on TRT because like a fucking super liberal, potentially unethical doctor prescribed it to you. But what's the likelihood that that happened in Germany like 7 years ago or something? I would say very low, very, very, very low. Again, though, that's not to take anything away from his hard work. I think he's underplaying it to kind of reinforce that he doesn't want people to come see his stuff, know he took whatever he took to achieve his physique, and then go blast a bunch of shit in attempts to replicate it, which is a very likely outcome, frankly. He has a massive following on Instagram. He has a great physique. And if people hear, I took fucking Tren, I took Primo, I took this, I took that, they're going to try and replicate it, you know? And they're probably not going to get the same physique as him because he is a hyper elite, you know, physique, or else he wouldn't have this massive following to begin with. He wouldn't be sponsored by companies and blah, blah, blah. So the majority of people who try and use the same shit as him will not get the same results as him. And as a result, they're going to push the envelope even harder and end up in heavily abusive hormone territory. So like, I understand completely why he's coming out the way he is right now. And, you know, it's fair. It's a responsible approach to, you know, some guys don't want to talk about PEDs at all because they don't want to have an impression on their audience and then feel responsible for, you know, what they may or may not do. And he's obviously, you know, in a fucking hard place because he doesn't want to have people get an impression of he's lying, but also he doesn't want to, you know, accidentally persuade people to take shit to look like him. So he's kind of hitting a fine line in the middle, in my opinion, where he's saying, you know, I'm on TRT and it's medically prescribed because I needed it, and that's why, you know, I'm on it, and it's actually nothing, and, you know, the only reason I'm on it is because I was deficient and blah, 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 and, you know, basically trying to say don't use gear if you don't need it, because, you know, you would only use TRT if you medically needed it, right? So I'm not trying to, you know, talk poorly about his decision. Like, I understand and respect the stance he's taking right now. Yeah, so anyway, let's continue.
And things that I see, things that I've heard, and things that I talk about with other people, you know? And I just try to warn you, please, you can develop a really good physique when you're an Eddie, and I will make this transformation video about my whole journey. I have everything, where you can see me from the start, from zero to looking good, Eddie, to starting this, getting enhanced, getting off, getting back on, getting back off, getting back on, getting back off, looking insane, and then went off for 1 year straight, and how I looked after 1 year where I stopped and everything, and then I went back on, and why I went back on, and all these kind of things. Yes, I will explain to you in another video, bro. But this should be it. I hope you appreciate it, like that I come up with this, and I do this for you.
Okay, so it should be interesting to see what those like going off and going back on phases are like, because if it's just TRT, like presumably you would not be coming off. So I guess we'll see what that's like. You know, potentially I may be misinterpreting what the whole point was about, you know, talking about how he just took TRT. Like maybe he's actually going to talk about some of the, you know, like blast phases he did in between, because, you know, obviously he's already admitted, he said he took the Dianabol cycle, he did, which might have been fake. He did the Trenase and test cycle, which, you know, is a decent fucking drug load, to be honest, like for a newbie. And potentially he did other stuff too. So I guess we'll see what he says in the future. But yeah, anyway, we'll continue before I say more.
Human. I do this for you to share my experience, to warn people that they don't are as stupid as I was, because you are young and dumb, man. It's like that. And you see some guy who looks bigger than you, and you will just believe whatever he says because you think like he can make you look like him, or he can help you to look like your idol. And then you're like, Joe, you are my idol. Can I look like you? And I'm like, maybe not exactly like that, but almost. Seriously, bro, almost. And I will show this in another video where we can see my test levels as well. And I will show my test levels from the blood work that I just did them, where you can clearly see that my test levels are slightly on the lower top of the range. That's it, on the highest end of the normal range.
Okay, Joe, if you get this blood work done, show your total testosterone levels. Show us your free testosterone levels too, though, and your SHBG, ideally. Because this is the biggest problem with guys on TRT trying to justify their use as nothing, is they will show you a total testosterone level of 1,000 or 1,100, which already is 99% of people cannot produce that naturally. Above and beyond that, your testosterone secretion follows a diurnal rhythm throughout the day. You're never going to have a chronically elevated 1,000 nanogram per deciliter testosterone level. So even if your total is, let's just say you show us a 900, that's already significantly different than a natural who's producing 900. Above and beyond that, when you pin a bolus amount of androgens exogenously, you drive down SHBG and disproportionately spike your free testosterone much higher than a natural would otherwise produce with a equivalent amount of total testosterone. So not only do you have a chronically stable level, regardless of how shitty your sleep is, how shitty your diet is, whatever, and this guy has probably like a perfect lifestyle anyway, so I'm not trying to say that that's him. I'm just saying like anyone on exogenous testosterone is going to experience that stability regardless. And even if you had a perfect everything, if you were natural, you would still have the ebbs and flows of tests going from, up fucking 800 down to 500 part of the day, back up to 700, back down a little bit. That's just how it works. You never maintain a chronically fucking stable high normal level. And then you especially never have a disproportionately high free testosterone, which is literally what is responsible for getting to the muscle tissue, binding to androgen receptors, inducing gene transcription, and causing muscle growth. So like Joe, just tread lightly on the whole, in my opinion. What I would advise is treading lightly on the whole, my levels are supernatural, and this is, exactly what a natural would produce. So it's, the equivalent of a natural pretty much. Because that's sort of like the territory some guys are getting into lately with the whole coming out on TRT. It's basically it's like a way to tone down their use essentially and not highlight how much of a fucking difference it actually makes. So I'm sure a lot of you guys understand why he's taking this approach too. And how kind of irrelevant the test results are going to be when you could just manipulate it however you want at the end of the day to make it seem like you're on like next to nothing. Which is fine though. Like you guys, if you're watching my stuff to begin with, your pharmacology information that you have, your knowledge is probably, head and shoulders above 99% of people to begin with, or you wouldn't be on my channel subscribed to begin with. So you probably get it. I, obviously can see where this is going, but, I understand the stance this guy's taking and the responsible approach to not wanting to influence people to abuse hormones. And, let's continue.
Nothing too fancy. No trend, no huge test dosages, no whatever, I mean, I will talk about this, what I said, that this other guy was stupid, and when I first wanted to do a competition, then there was another guy who recommended us tons of roids, man, and he was always like, a lot helps a lot. When I think about it, when I see him again, I would like to say, why you did this to us? Didn't you think about that we could suffer from this and that? And the next thing is, when we had problems, this guy also wasn't helping us. Nothing. Not even like helping us to find the medication to get rid of the side effects and stuff like this. You know what I mean? And this is the next thing. People having a lack of information. And this is why they this experience all these bad things, Like this other guy made a video where he says, steroids almost ruined my life because he had crazy acne all over his body. He had a gynecomastia, his stick doesn't work. There's a lot of bad things that can happen as well. Having a bit more muscle is not the most important thing in the world, bro. I hope you understand this. Please, if you enjoy and you want to see more about all this in detail, I have no problem in sharing it with you. But only if you can support this video as much as you can.
Okay, so I think we can kind of get the approach he's taking here. And, unfortunately, a blood test result I don't think is going to be too indicative of anything, even if he got a total and a free testosterone in hindsight, because, he's clearly taking a strong stance against super physiological amounts of hormone use, as well as just steroid use in general, because he doesn't want to have an impression upon his audience that they should be taking anything to look like him, which is fine. honestly. And, you know, the blood test result is going to show what it shows, and you could easily just wait longer for more hormone to clear out of your system before you get the test done. And that's fine. He can do whatever he wants. At least, you know, he's in a tough position. Like I said, he doesn't want to be lying to his audience because they're all fucking grilling him, asking, you know, what's the deal? Like, you're obviously on PEDs. What are you doing? And then at the same time, he doesn't want to come across as, you know, promoting abuse. So I can understand the stance he's taking. For me, transparency would be saying what you've actually done and what you're currently doing. I wouldn't be surprised if what he's doing is actual, like, you know, reasonably like high TRT, like within, you know, therapeutic parameters to some extent. Certainly not something that could otherwise be naturally replicated, but something that would otherwise fall within a therapeutic reference range on paper and isn't necessarily like a clinical fucking representation of superphysiologic, because you can't maintain a chronic level throughout the day naturally. You know, if you see a number on a piece of paper, it's just going to fall into a reference range. So, you know, the number is going to be whatever it ends up being. I don't think it really, you know, that's my stance. He's taking a firm stance against people being abusers to end up looking like him, because that's likely what would happen if they found out what he did from A to Z, and as well as potentially what he's doing now. You know, like, even some people might be like, you know what, I just need TRT, and a bunch of fucking kids are going to get on TRT now because of even this. So, you know, he's obviously trying to downplay it as much as physically possible to avoid a scenario in which some kid becomes an abuser, and I respect that. And take from that what you will. You know, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he is just on TRT to maintain what he's maintaining, but you have to understand what TRT entails in current day to get a pure representation of why he can hold on to what he can hold on to. Like, I promise you, if he came off TRT, he would lose a significant amount of tissue, even if he had good natural levels. So I'm rambling on a bit much, but you know, I respect the stance he took, and at the same time, though, you know, it's like a bit of a convoluted transparency that it gets into the weeds of things. Like, I would personally, the way I stand on things is full transparency and educate the person on the risks and provide information on risk management is for safer practice, because you already know they're already going to use shit, and probably to begin with. That's kind of the stance I would take. So if you're not, you know, knowledgeable enough to provide that information, though, then I could see where, you know, potentially you don't, at the end of the day, you don't want to be responsible for what anyone is doing. So I can understand why he's saying what he's saying, and that's it. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. Follow Joe. He is a charismatic, funny guy with a sick physique, and who can make his chest fucking spasm like an accordion. So he has a pretty entertaining page. You know, check him out, and I guess we'll see what is in store for when he, you know, does an update on this and talks about what he's done from A to Z, and how you know, transparent he really is about it. But again, I think we kind of get the stance he's taking on this video, and I respect the stance he has taken, and I understand why he's saying what he's saying. So take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.